So Excellergy, it's really is an exciting time for Excellergy as a company, and for us to launch the company as we did earlier this week. It's really the concept, as we had in our press release, is around effector cell response inhibitors. It's around our assets, our molecules that'll bring a new mechanism of action to really provide total allergic control. And why that's exciting and is really we got to take a step back. And I think we cited the Jackie paper that was published by our founders, by Dr. Alex Egel, Ted Jarditsky, and Luke Pennington in the Jackie magazine earlier this week. And really what it alluded to was taking a look at the standard of care in omalizumab and what could be done from a mechanism of action standpoint around IgE that would make a difference for patients. And I think what really is important is, yes, we're binding free IgE, but what else can be done? And I think in their work, they made it very clear that as you look at the effector cells, the mast cells and the basophils, it's really what are you doing, not about binding just free IgE, but what are you doing to remove bound IgE off of those effector cells that are in the blood and in the tissue? And that's really what that paper's crux of message was, is that you can remove IgE off of the effector cells without causing anaphylaxis, binding free IgE, and at the same time, having those effector cells downregulate, ultimately denude and disarm. And I think providing what we saw as total allergic control of the IgE axis and what that means for patients, that suffer from urticaria or from food allergy, really is what that paper led to sort of the seed money in 2021 provided by Red Tree Ventures to Excellergy, and really took that concept of mechanism to Excellergy, where we developed molecules, our antibody, our monoclonal antibody, and our next generation asset, and really put it in the clinic and applied this trifunctionality and said, okay, now we believe we have a new class of medicines, effector cell response inhibition, and it really provides trifunctionality. You're binding free IgE, you're removing bound IgE off mast cells and basophils, which again is ultimately turning off and disarming the cells immediately. And from there, really, I have to credit our co-founders in Excellergy of Jeff Harris and Luke Pennington, scientists that went very deep and really led to my interest 8 months ago, which is a preclinical compendium, which is remarkably large, over 12 to 15 papers looking at every single component around what it will mean in efficacy. What's it going to mean in speed for the patient or the parent? What's it going to mean in safety? So I think that's when really, in 2024 and 25, this preclinical compendium was birthed. You took a look at all of the work. We were able to raise $70 million, which is an extremely large Series A, with 3 very, very strong venture capital firms in Samsara Capital, Red Tree Ventures, and DeChang Capital, just wonderful people who are committed to patients and healthcare providers. And then really that led to me joining in the very first part of 2025 and saying, okay, now it's time to take this company from this preclinical large compendium of data with this brand new mechanism of action that takes where the market is today and the current standard of care and options and takes it into this next generation. One physician said, Todd, this isn't going from an Apple 1.0 to 2.0. This is going from 1.0 to 100.0. Your ability to shut off the IgE axis in a trifunctional way. Imagine what that could mean for a patient suffering from chronic spontaneous urticaria. Imagine what it would mean as an insurance policy for a child who has severe food allergies. If you were to give them this medicine and you shut off the system and they, God forbid, came in contact with that antigen or that food, the patient can't react. You've basically disarmed the system. So I think for us, why we're excited is we're able to really generate here at Excellergy a novel chemical entity scientifically, but it's within known biology, meaning we're taking what's been the standard of care and we're providing its natural progression. Its natural progression to not just doing one thing of binding free IgE, but removing it from bound cells and ultimately disarming and downregulating the effector cells in the tissue and the blood, the mast cell and the basophil. That truly is the panacea. So for us, the next logical next steps after our preclinical is we'll be in the clinic in our phase 1 with our antibody in the early part of 2026, dosing in humans, which is extremely exciting. We're always, we stay humble and gritty here at Excellergy, but we're confident. We believe that from all of the cyno and the animal work done and the in vitro work, that this will translate to humans. But again, respectfully, we need to do the work. And then secondarily, we expect readout from that to come at the back half of 2026. And then we have our secondary, sort of our next generation asset that we'll put through the preclinical work in the back half of 25 and then through 26. So going into the end of 26, we should have a phase 2 ready asset with our lead program. And we'll have a phase 1 ready asset with our sort of our next generation program within effector cell response inhibition. So really excited. And then the last piece I have to touch on is the people. We built a great team here in 2025 at Excellergy of people that have been there and done it. They built companies from scratch, and they really took a look at the entire landscape to say, what are we doing clinically? And then how will this transition commercially? And I think that's what I have done in my career in launching products around the world and spending my last 13 years in dermatology is, these diseases are going to be extremely impactful, not just in the allergy market, but in the dermatology market. And it's not only important to clinically be successful to get approval, it matters that you can commercially translate these products so physicians, healthcare providers have access across the United States and beyond. And Excellergy, we're committed to that. We're committed to the healthcare provider, to the patient, and to the parent who really have children suffering, whether it's, again, urticaria, food allergy, asthma, or numerous other IgA-mediated diseases that need that IgE axis shut off.